directors and staff, we extend our most sincere condolences and are truly honored that you have chosen Riverside National Cemetery for your loved one's final resting place. We will now continue with the presentation of honors. This will include a 3-volley rifle salute and a plane of taps. During the rifle salute, it may be loud, so please do cover your ears and need so. During the plane of taps, all service members, past and present, may render one final hand salute. Everyone else shall place their right hand over their heart. With that being said, at this time, if you can do so, please rise for honors.
States, United States Air Force, and the grateful nation. Pieces of this flag as a symbol of appreciation to his loved ones, honorable and faithful service to this country. Check these cartridges fired in honor of the weapons.
As everyone can imagine, it's a very tough day for me and the family. I look out and I see so much love and so many people my dad loved dearly. I don't have anything prepared to say, but all I can say is my dad loved you guys so much. He's such a fighter. He didn't want a funeral. And that was my dad. He didn't want a funeral because he didn't want you guys to feel the sadness that this moment brings. And that speaks for how selfless he was. My dad was so selfless, he didn't want anyone hurting or sad. But I know that he would have, at the end of the day, been happy that we held this for him, and he'd be happy that all of you are here to be here to honor him and just be here for him and the family. So I really appreciate you guys being here for him, and we're gonna have a few people here to say some words for him in his honor. So thank you again. Emmett Murray. Emmett Murray, my dad's best friend for, I'd say, about 62 years. Is that all? Emmett was his best friend, his brother. I think best friend wouldn't even be appropriate. Emmett was his brother.
Brother from another mother.
Yeah. So,
having grown up with Jimmie in South Central LA and going to elementary school and junior high school together, and Jimmie and my brother Jimmie was in the Air Force, my brother was in the Army, and after they left the military, they decided they wanted to see the world, so that's what they did. They traveled and whatnot, and then Jimmie, he was looking down the road, future, and he had UCLA in his sights, and he decided that's what he was going to do, go to UCLA, and he got his law degree, and he worked at UCLA at international worked with international students there at UCLA. And he spent most of his time there, but rest assured, if he wasn't there, he was out at LAX taking an international flight going somewhere. And I can testify to that, because more often than not, I was moving him about from point B to point A and around the city and whatnot. But I'm going to miss my brother from another mother, but I'll never never, 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 never forget it. So that's all I have to say, but I'm really pleasantly surprised to see all of you here. I said, well, it's not the weekend, they'll probably show up, but when I saw the entourage, I said, that's a lot of love.
Yeah.
You know, Jimmie heart touched a lot of people, impacted a lot of lives, and he always had something positive to say to everybody. So thank you for coming, and that's all I have to say.
Very good.
So I apologize for writing my remarks up, but I was trying to honor the 2-minute warnings that I was given so that everybody has a chance to say something. I didn't meet Jimmie when he was young, but met him after he was out of law school and after he was already working at UCLA with the Floyd Street office. And even though Jimmie and I did not graduate in the same year from law school, I think he was a year after Paul and myself, we worked together because at the time I was working in the general counsel's office for the Regents at the University of California, and we were working on some of the policies that pertain to out-of-state tuition. And because Jimmie had the background in immigration law, he was a big help. And from that moment, we struck up a friendship, and from that moment in time, we spent quite a bit of time together. I live in Northern California, but was down here often enough to spend a lot of time with Jimmie. I consider Jimmie to be one of my closest personal friends, and this is a big loss for all of us. But rather than focus on the loss, I want to make a couple observations about my buddy Jimmie White. First observation I would make is he was very much empowered. Not only was he accomplished in terms of academics, in terms of travel, in terms of military service, in terms of professional service, but for somebody who grew up in a part of town that was difficult to overcome, he never, ever used that as an issue for him. In fact, he thought it gave him an edge. He thought that he was very much empowered because he knew how to work in the boardroom, how to work in the courtroom, and how to work in the streets. And so he very much brought that empowerment and passed it on to all that he worked with and all that he was involved with, that they themselves controlled their fate. There wasn't anything they were victims, but there were things that they could do to improve their situation, and he was very much at the supporter of that. Second observation to make about my buddy Jimmie White, he was connected. It's difficult for me to imagine anyone in my life that was better known everywhere you went than Jimmie White. So whether it was on campus or whether it was sporting events, whether it was in the immigration classroom, whether it was at the university, that everybody knew Jimmie White. And he was able to not just know folks, but people remembered him, and people remembered and liked him, and he was a great conversationalist and spent a lot of time with them. So there's really no one that I've known in my time that even is close to being as connected as Jimmie White. And I don't remember him ever really speaking badly about anything. In all honesty, he was somebody who really looked at the positive side, really looked at life as being a glass half full. Another observation I make about my buddy Jimmie White, he was a charming guy. I mean, he charmed everyone. And I'll just give you one example of that. I would fly to town, and we would go to the UCLA football games at the Rose Bowl, and he would have a way to get there where there was no traffic. I don't know how he did it. There's probably a handful of people that can get from the west side to Pasadena without running into traffic on a game day, but he could do it every time. Now, the problem was, in order to get to the gate, you had to drive through streets that were blocked off. And every single time, he was able to talk us through those blocks. That was Jimmie. You would consistently be able to talk your way into those blocks. Another observation I make about Jimmie is that he cared. He cared about his family. He cared about his friends. He cared about his students. He cared about his community. cared about his clients. I mean, a lot of people don't know that in addition to working at UCLA, he had a lot of private clients with immigration issues, and he really went the extra mile for it. He cared about being in the military. The fact that we're here honoring him today was a big part of his life. He spoke about it positively. But I would say of all the things he cared for, I have to say this, I don't think he cared for anything more than his UCLA work. And that will be on the top of my list, seeing that hat on him in many different forms over the 40 plus odd years that I know him. He definitely loved Lou and Phil. So Jimmie was a UCLA student. Finally, observation is he lived life on his own terms. His activities, his priorities, these were all what he wanted to do, and he didn't really see obstacles in his way. He set the goals that he wanted. He went after them vigorously. He stayed with them. He was devoted to those outcomes. And he lived life the way he wanted to. Not many of us can really say that. So in closing, I do want to say a fond farewell to my friend Jimmie White. Jimmie, you came. You made a difference. You loved and were loved. And most importantly, the world will not be the same without you. God bless you, my friend.
Well, I guess there were quite a few brothers from other mothers, and I might be one of them, which is just a great joy and an honor. I wrote a few words. I want to make sure that I kind of got it right for Jimmie. May 27, 9:30 in the morning. I remember getting a call from the son of the brother, and death touched Jimmie's shoulder, asked him to step out, way before his time. Jimmie had a lot of mileage to go, even though he covered the earth many times. He lost his 5-year battle with cancer. The ending was hard for his family. Nico, dedicated. Eric, how day after day, those last few months, watching Jimmie. He didn't want you to see him. Many of you came. He didn't want you to see him like that, because that wasn't the Jimmie we knew. Jimmie we knew was about energy, about life. And he had an ending which he didn't deserve, because he was a good man. UCLA and DASHU, you were his deep family. He loved you so much, and I know you loved him, even though he could be a pain in the ass. That was his specialty. Jimmie often spoke about his time in the Air Force serving. He was very proud of his service. He was a patriot, a true patriot to his country. Jimmie was passionate about education and mentoring the thousands of students whose lives he helped shape. And he was a great counselor. He was bold, he was direct, and he was honest, to the point that he became inspiring from his honesty. I have no doubt that the reason Jimmie accomplished so much was his mom. I never met her, you knew her, but he always spoke about his mom. And she molded him through love and discipline and strict guidance. And he replicated that for so many. The discipline, the guidance, the love. I believe it came from Mom. In 2013, the National Association of Foreign Student Advisors gave Jimmie their highest award and honor. And there were hundreds of people there. Everybody knows he deserved the Ron Moffat Award for his extraordinary contribution in education and his commitment to social justice. He was one of the best student counselors, and it's been said before, because he really cared. Jimmie cared. It was genuine. It was deep. He cared about his students, and he was dedicated to his mission. And he was smart and genuine and sincere. It was all genuine. His passion for sports, which has been spoken about, was beyond a passion. It was an obsession. And in his final hours, he was so weak he couldn't talk, but the TV was on, the NBA playoffs were there. He had to be watching, even in his last few minutes. And that was, you walk in, you get a little smile and a sparkle, but watching the game, you saw him lit up, came to life. So it was great. Many of you probably had the experience of walking across the campus with Jimmie. Always an hour late. Because he stopped with the gardener, and then the policeman, and then the dean, and then the students. And oh my gosh, if he bumped into one of the basketball players, that's another half hour. But there's a meeting. Forget about the meeting. It was about Jimmie and his ability to share love with all the people on the campus. He really was and is the most well-known and loved person on that campus. He cared. People felt it. He was sharing his love and his wisdom. Rest in peace, dear Jimmie. You're a role model for your students, for the world. You're a man of deep convictions, sometimes a little stubborn, but you care deeply, you love deeply, you were loved by so many, and I will always love you, Jimmie.
Hi everyone. I'm another brother from another mother. I've known Jimmie for 40 years or more, and since the first day we met, we could not be separated. He's probably the only person I talk to almost every day for 40 years. I don't even do that with my family. So we were very tight. Did so many things together. He was a professional as a lawyer and working on campus, and I worked on campus with him, and I had another profession as a photographer, and he loved photography, so he came on board with me with that, and we just did everything together. But like everyone else has said, he loved life, he loved the people around him, he shared that love seamlessly, just without thought. He would just drop what he's doing and give you all the love he had. I'm in pain because he would come by my house and come to my back door, and he has a name for me. My name is Bert, but he calls me Bertolucci. And I hear him at my back door every day, Bertolucci. I'm like, oh. And I don't hear that today, and it just wears me out. But I know he's in a better place, as we like to say, as we do say, without the pain and the suffering, and it was hard to go through that with him, but I was there with him all the way, and I love him so much, and I'm going to miss him dearly, but I just don't know. We're gonna all make it, and we'll have a good time, you know, just with our thoughts and our memories. Because we were like the Corsican twins. If somebody hit him, I'd cry. You know, same thing. If somebody hit me, he'd cry. You know, and people always would say if they saw one of us, the other was bound to be around somewhere. They look for it, you know, and there he was. And both of us were like that. But I'm gonna miss him dearly, and I'll love him to my last days. And his family is a part of my family. I've known Eric since like 3 years old, 3 or 4 years old. So it's just one of those ingrained things that I appreciate being a part of. And I appreciate everyone being here to show the same kind of love that you have for Jimmie. Thank you so much.
Hello everyone, my name is Anna Lumian, and I can stand here and tell you amazing stories about Jimmie, sing his praises and tell you what a wonderful human being he was. But what I would like to do is give you a testimonial of the life he impacted so deeply. There are people that come to this earth and they ask, how much can I take? And there are others that come and say, how much can I give? Jimmie belonged to the third category. He said, how much can I give? At the same time, how much can I have the most fun? He saw life as a celebration and the people as the biggest feast. If you look around, you'll see people from all walks of life, all backgrounds, all religions, ethnicities, countries. He was that kind of a human being. I met him when I was a young teenager at UCLA. I was referred to him through the registrar's office. They sent me as a refugee from Lebanon. I had come here by myself, having grown up in orphanages, and I didn't know how I was going to pay for UCLA, to be honest with you. And my legal status was up in limbo at the time. So I went, they told me, go speak to Jimmie White, you're your best bet. So I imagined this white guy, I don't know why, with a white beard, very stern. So I said, okay. There I walked from Murphy Hall all the way down to the International Students Office. And I see this guy, completely irreverent, spry, springing into the office, and I'm thinking, where's Jimmie White? And there was Jimmie. So I started talking to him, telling him about my story, and I started crying. And in that moment, he looked at me, typical Jimmie. He goes, Tuffy, what you crying for? There's a solution to your problem. You're Tuffy the baby from now on. And that was my nickname. He took me under his wing. He took me to South LA. He introduced me to his mother. I saw America through his eyes. I was a blank slate. And it was amazing. It helped shape the person that I became. He introduced me to Bill and Joanne. I was a fixture at the International Students Office. I had no father, no family here. He became pretty much everything to me. I see many familiar faces, and you were all my family at UCLA. I'm proud, and I know he was very proud of me, and I want to repeat it because it's an honor of Jimmie. If it weren't for him, I don't think I would have done the work that I've done the same way. I've been running an organization, and I'm proud to tell you that I've been able to touch over 120,000 young lives in various inner cities here in Southern California, and Jimmie had a hand in it. Now, God took him very soon from us, but I know he takes the best ones. I think he's turned heaven into a big giant party while he's advising God and his angels and watching over us. Thank you.
I don't know if I can do this. I give a lot
lot of speeches and lectures and stuff, but one thing I can't really talk about, talk about another brother from another mother. So if I start to choke, I'm an idiot. And I would start embarrassing myself, and embarrassing you too. But we became roommates in law school in our second year. But you see me or not, with almost every conversation he's had with everybody, we've had the conversation as to what we should do and what we shouldn't do. Both came out of the same area in LA. We went to UCLA, and they were saying, "Are you gonna have a tough time at UCLA?" We found out that it wasn't that hard. Our background didn't make it easy. School was not hard. The academics wasn't hard. And Jimmie said, "Man, we're gonna get through this school, and we're gonna have a lot of fun." And that's what we did. We got through the school, and we had a lot of fun. Jimmie had a nickname. He called himself Chase. And Chase, I was chasing him the whole time from law school until the last time we went to China together. We would go different places. We went to China. He talked about walking across the campus. And he did run UCLA. We were UCLA ruins, that's all we talked about. What is this doing now? And he loved the military, and he loved his people, and he loved to help people. But you had to run around with him. In China, we would go place to place, not just in the campus. We'd go from, here we are in Shanghai. I don't know Chinese. Jimmie, I said, you've been here like 5, 6, 7 times. You don't know the Chinese? I don't even know Chinese. He'd go from here, he knew everybody in China. He knew everybody. We stopped here, we stopped there, and then, but see, you had to keep up with him. Here I'm running behind him like this, right? We go to a place, and then he said, I gotta go somewhere else, and you stay here, and you can find your way back. Here's how you get back. Now I'm somewhere on the other side of Shanghai trying to find my way back. If I can't keep up with Jimmie, I'm out of breath. I'm out of breath. I'm out of breath. I just can't keep up with him. So he called himself Chase. He was Chase. He was my brother in a lot of ways. After a while, we became inseparable in mind and not. Now, Eric, when he went off, we graduated from school. He came to stay still. He goes off. He has this young man. He stays with me. He's born in my house, basically. He's there and he lives with us because Jimmie is here. He's back and forth and back and forth. And my daughter's the same age as him. He's in one crib and my daughter's in the other crib. And I'm talking to Jimmie and back and forth and everything else. And so this, I'm going to leave you with this story. If I have to get through this before I get choked up, I'm going to be able to say everything. I got to get this through. This is the hardest part. The day that he passes away, got to get this through. He passes away. I'm leaving the place, and I have a cell phone. This phone starts talking. It says, I want to fly away. I want to be fresh and clean. There's a song came on that I had never played. It just starts playing. I'm trying, I use the light. I'm using the light to get into my house. It starts playing. It starts playing. I've never heard the song before. It played. I couldn't turn it on. I could not turn the song on. And then I said, I said, he's gone.
I'm here on behalf of my father, Kumar. So I'm a nephew of Jimmie White in many ways, and I'm going to read a message that my father sent.
Just to mention, Kumar has been a friend of my dad's as long as these gentlemen who've spoken before. Many years, 40 plus years. Kumar, great friend. Consider him family. So great representation.
I write this message with a deep sense of sorrow and sadness, feelings that have overcome me ever since I heard the news of Jimmie's passing. Jimmie White was my friend, confidant, and guide. It is the philosopher Cicero who said that gratitude is not only the greatest of virtues, but it is the parent of all virtues. Today, I express my deep gratitude to Jimmie, who has been integral to my life and the life of my family. My thoughts today turn to 1978 when I was a student representative at UCLA, serving on the selection committee for the position of foreign student counselor. We interviewed many candidates, but when Jimmie White walked into that interview room, I knew the game was over. His sharp intellect, his humor, and his understanding of complex issues were very evident. He was chosen as foreign student counselor that day, a position he stayed in for almost 35 years. Jimmie has made a significant contribution to my life ever since 1978. At the time, I was a doctoral student in business at UCLA. Jimmie inspired me to follow a different path and go on to law school. As I pursued my legal career, I looked up to Jimmie as a beacon of hope in an otherwise competitive world of law. If I remember one thing about him, it is the fact that he was generous beyond words. Jimmie did not have an iota of greed in him. He taught me my first lessons in law, gave me introductions to immigration officers, and perhaps most importantly, explained to me with utmost patience the art of approaching women. I'm the messenger. When I later went through the arranged marriage process and got married to my wife, Bansala, Jimmie was there by my side. He was the first person to whom I introduced her when we returned to the United States. He then became an important part of the lives of our children. Jimmie served as basketball coach for my sons under Jimmie. He was my first basketball coach. And very recently, my family was fortunate to have taken Jimmie out for breakfast. That day, in spite of his failing health, I saw in Jimmie the same warmth, the same kindness, and the same trademark generosity and lack of greed that have always inspired me. I can go on and on about him. Jimmie, as we say a fond farewell to you, you will continue to be a part of my life. You have left a void that I don't believe can ever be filled. I salute you and will continue to see in myself the early lessons that you taught me in being a good citizen. Thank you with love, admiration.
Well, my name is Tilak. I started working with Jimmie in 1981 at the Office of International Students and Scholars. It was in Dodge Hall then, and when I first came here in 1981, 2 weeks later I was answering the phone in the office, and I had no idea how to even talk in English at that time. And then, Jimmie was just behind my desk in his room, and he was so helpful to me, and he taught me many things that I haven't learned in these 35 years working with CLA. He is so good at getting person directed and oriented, anything that students do. So that's why he was seeing thousands students and telling the exact things that the students need to know. When that was starting to be. I just say I don't want to take too much time. When we started going to China, I remember one student said that he knew street well. He knew all the streets in Shanghai. Because there's one story that I share with you. I collect pens. And when you were going to start going to China, we can select what you want from China. I said, give me a pen. What do they use in China? And so 1 week later he came and he gave me a nice pen, and it was Mont Black. And that's one of those, nice pens people use. And then I was so happy, and then I was gaga, and I said, how did you find it? Yeah, I found it in Shanghai, in the street. So then I was all happy that day. I was dreaming about the pen in the evening and all the things. And next day I came back and he said, would you like to pen? Oh, sure, yeah. And then he close to my ears and it's okay, I found it in the street. So that is Jimmie. Thank you very much. And Jimmie and Mr. Jimmie.
thank everybody for speaking. Oh, Jason, did you want to say something? Okay.
Yeah, one more.
I'm last because I hadn't thought of saying anything today. I didn't think I'd be able to make it to say something. I think it's incredibly remarkable about Jimmie is that so many of us feel like we're brothers from another mother. And we're souls so different and we came into Jimmie's lives at different parts and different times, but we all have that same sense of incredible closeness and family. Jimmie was the most authentic, genuine person I've ever known. The only time that, and I think this added to his charm, the only time he ever was not quite telling the truth was he would tell every woman she was gorgeous. But my wife wanted to believe it. She says, I know he's kidding, but it sounds great. But it was his authenticity that allowed him to be able to say that, and people would take it for what it was meant. He gave love wherever he was. I've known him for over 40 years. He was another law school roommate of mine. I remember Eric when he was a baby, and Mo, my wife and I visited them in the Netherlands, and carrying Eric down to the train station as we were leaving. Never realizing that the journey would be this long, but still too short. I loved him like a brother, and he had the ability to be, his love knew no capacity. If you added another person to his life, you would love him just as much. It's just remarkable. He was a fighter to the end. I know how hard it was for him. I'm only sorry that I didn't realize that his final return home happened just after I left for a vacation, and talking to Eric on the phone and then to Jimmie, and thinking and hoping that Jimmie would, true to form, be late, as he always was, and that he would last another few days so I could make it back to see him before I left. But unfortunately, there was one time he was on time. I'll miss him tremendously, but the great thing about someone like Jimmie is that you keep him in your heart and it makes your life and everyone else's life around you better. So, kids.
Lamont, he was basically my other father. I had two. My uncle, who you already met, the first brother from another mother. And I grew up with this guy, known him since I was 9 years old. I grew up in South Central, literally exactly where Jimmie grew up, and my uncle. And here's my story. When I was 9 years old, my uncle comes and picks me up from South Central. I was a pretty good student. I did okay. And he said, I have to get you out of here to show you that there's something else in the world, not just this little area you live in, to think greater than this little bubble you call South Central. So he picks me up. I'm terrified. It's a Saturday morning. He picks me up and drives me out to 24th Street. I'm 24th Street, and that's where I met Eric for the first time. He was 8, I think. I opened it, like, I'm terrified. My uncle knocks on the door. Jimmie's there. Big smile, because it's Jimmie. Like he's seen me since I was born. I really never even met the guy before. And Eric runs out with a big poof of hair and his Legos and Transformers all over the floor. And from that day on, he literally treated me like I was his son. I mean, from the time I was 8 till summer of 14, every weekend I was at his house. We would go to UCLA. I think we were there when Woodin Center opened. No judgments. We were there when Woodin Center opened, and I would stay at his house on the weekends. He would literally, we'd catch the bus to UCLA. Jimmie would, if he gave Eric $20, He gave me $20. Like whatever he got, I got. And I met all these incredible people, actors, directors, writers, athletes, who look like me. And I thought, you know what? I want to do this. I want to go here. And I did. UCLA, and through and through. And my life wouldn't be where it is if it wasn't for my uncle, for him, or Jimmie White. So there was no, this could have been in China and I would have made it. There's no way I would have stood.
Thank you guys so much. It's just, you know, this could go on for hours and days and weeks probably. It's very important for me to mention two very influential, powerful rocks in my dad's life. My mother and Kuniko Tada, his current wife, widow. Without them, I'm not so sure he could have accomplished as much as he did. You know, you always need a rock at home, and that they were. So, if he could say something right now, I know that he would thank you too. I love you both dearly. Thank you for being there for my dad. It means more than you guys know. I know Kuniko, it's a very difficult moment for her, so I'm going to speak for her briefly here. I just wanted to thank the people that have made the last couple years, which have been very tough, a little easier to deal with. We got, and to name names, it's tough because there were so many people that were there for him. But there were a few that were there almost every day, if not physically calling. Got Bill and Joanne Bennett, Doug Erickson, Derek Banks, Emmett, Burton, you know, Anna was there as much as she could be with her crazy schedule. David Cheney, who spoke, there so much for my dad, and I know that Kuniko thanks you guys so much. I don't think she would have made it through that hard period without you guys. You know, Larry, of course. So this is a very difficult time for us, and we've tried to, you know, maintain and be as strong as we could. And I think because we know my dad would want us to be strong, it's helped. That knowing that is carrying us through this moment, because this is extremely hard. I did not look forward to today, if I'm honest. I didn't ever want to see this day. I love my dad so much, and I miss him so much, but I find comfort in knowing he's going to be here with us. He's going to be with me every day. He's going to be with all of us, and his spirit's going to carry on through all of us, and that makes me feel good. And you know, I think our future's in good hands because my dad's looking after us. So again, thank you guys for being here. I can't express enough how much it means to me and the family that you guys were a part of his life. I know he loved a lot of you guys like brothers and sisters. His definition of family far exceeded your standard definition. So,
Eric, before you finish, I want you to know one of my last conversations with Jimmie was telling him how much he loves you and how proud he is of Max. So I want you to know he's extraordinarily proud of you.
yes.
You know, he's very proud of what you did today.
So, on that note, you know, my son, young Max, he's going to carry on the tradition one day, the White family, and, you know, you got some big shoes to fill, son, so. no pressure. So thanks again. You guys have a great rest of your day.
you.